Welcome to Joetta Please podcast. My name is Joedart. 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 I don't know. It's kind of cool saying my name out loud. Oh, this is so cool, guys. I am so excited. I can't believe I actually said I'll do something and actually doing it. Got to take that off my what is it called? I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just really excited. Welcome to the Joda Plead pod. Hey, Mr. Plead. Please podcast. My name is Joda or Mame, whichever one you want to call me. And today is my first ever podcast episode. This is the first ever podcast episode. I'm so excited. And I cannot wait for this podcast to grow. And this is the first of many, so I'm super excited. Today we're going to be talking about the first daughter of the African family. I did a poll on my Instagram and I was like, what do you guys want me to talk about? And everybody was voting for the first daughter of an African family. And as the first daughter of an African family and as the only girl, I felt it was definitely right for me to talk about this. And today we're going to just be talking about experiences as the first daughter of an African family, the pros and cons, if I do recommend it or not. And yeah, so let's start off. I do not have a direction for this. In fact, I don't even know if I'm gonna post this or not. But yeah, so I am the first daughter of an African family, of a Ghanaian family. I am the only girl, which means that I don't know why people think that being the only girl of a African family means that you're spoiled. Every time I tell people I'm the only girl, they're like, "Oh, you're spoiled," and I'm like, that does not. That's not how I feel like Cinderella before Cinderella was Cinderella. Like when she was doing the housework and she was cleaning and stuff. That's what I felt like being the first daughter of an African family. I never once felt spoiled or like I don't know, things were handed to me. But I was sheltered. I don't know me being if me being the first daughter of a Ghanaian family was the reason why I was sheltered, but I was sheltered. Um, I really was allowed to do a lot of things, and I wasn't rebellious. I wasn't one of those people that are like, "Oh, I'm just going to breach the boundaries. Or I'm going to try my own thing." Like I never once was rebellious. I never had a rebellious. Okay, I wouldn't say I never had a rebellious bone in me, but I definitely never tried. When I was young, I was never one of those people or one of those kids to sneak out or go places or do things. No, that was not me. That was not me. I was, yeah. And the crazy thing is that me and my brother are similar but opposites. We're similar in the ways like personality. Like we're both funny. We both have like that like sense of humor, and we used to have so many inside jokes and everything. But when it came to like what we did, we were very different. Like my brother was more of a rule follower. I mean, he might disagree, but in my opinion, he was a rule follower, and I wasn't. But it wasn't like I was like terrible or anything. Like I said, I was never rebellious, but I was more of like I would do things that were a little different from everybody in my family. So growing up, yeah, that was different. Yeah, I think for me it was more of the things I would say, my opinions and the things that I would say. I would just say things that nobody else would say or think of. Like as you guys know, my TikTok is literally me being myself and just saying whatever. Like, like I just say the most ridiculous things. Like I don't even know. Like I feel like my brain has reached a capacity where it's like I cannot keep any more information in my brain, and I have to bring it out. So I feel like that's why that I'm so free on TikTok and stuff. Like it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's definitely cool. But yeah, one of the things though that I feel like we should talk about growing up in an African family is feeling like suppressed, feeling like you cannot do anything, you know, feeling like you were tied to your home or your family. Like basically you are the second mother, being the first daughter of an African family, being the oldest daughter of African family. Everybody expects you to do things. Everybody expects you to go here. Everybody expects you to, fit in this norm, fit in this thing. And it's like, I have a personality and have the things I like, and I feel like I want to do what I want, you know. I remember there were times where, like, I'll be invited to go places, and basically, it's not like my parents were strict or were like, oh, you can't go anywhere, but it was like, I mean, if you go out, who's gonna do the dishes? Who's gonna cook? Like, who's gonna, And because my mom worked so much, it was like, yeah, you're gonna have to learn how to cook, you know. And for me, I was never one of those girls who learned how to cook at a very, very, very young age. Like, when I lived in Ghana, some of you may know I grew up in Ghana, but when I lived in Ghana, I never really knew how to do anything because everybody did things for us. I was very, very spoiled, or DB, like people say. So I never really knew how to do things. It wasn't until I came to the US where I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to learn how to mix too. Like those things I never grew up learning. So when I first started cooking and doing all of those things, that was when I started feeling the responsibility of the oldest daughter. And keep in mind, I also have a younger brother. The age gap is definitely age gapping. He is, I think 14. It's so sad that I don't know his actual age, but I think he's 14. And and just the responsibility I had to have, like, it's just like, be there for him. Like, if nobody's at home, who's gonna watch him because he's a baby or he's a toddler? And like, my friends be like, oh, let's go out. I'm like, do I really need to go out? I started putting the responsibility on myself. Like, my parents were never like, oh, don't go anywhere. But it was like I started putting the responsibility of myself, where it's like, oh, I need to stay home, do the dishes. I need to stay home and clean. I need to stay home because nobody's home. African parents sometimes they'll even be like, oh, can you stay home? Why are you going? Stay home. Somebody needs to be home. Like, for what? Are we guarding a palace? Like, I'm so confused. Why should somebody be home so that, yeah, I'm confused. But yeah, it would be things like that, and not really having a social life. And honestly, if you're the first daughter of African family, like, you really never had a social life until you moved out of your parents' home. And even that, you're still kind of tied to your family. Like, you're still kind of like tied to your family. Like, even when you move away, and even when you get married, you're still kind of tied to the family. So we've definitely suffered. We definitely suffered. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy to be the first daughter of an African family. It is not something that, and the saying, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Yeah, African daughters are the strongest soldiers. I'm gonna read some of the responses I got. I put up a forum for people to just put opinions, questions, whatever. And somebody said, as the eldest daughter of Ghanaian born parents, I feel like I've paved the way for my siblings to have things a bit easier than I did. Do you think you've done that or can resonate in any way? Definitely. I definitely feel like we're the ones who experience life first, especially if you are the first child of an African family. Like, you're the ones to begin anything. And I can even say this for that first African sons of the family. Like, whatever you do, your siblings are going to um try to do. They're going to copy you. So you have to be like, you have to be someone that they can look up to. And it's like this, it's just like this responsibility that you never really asked for. And it's like, yeah, it's important for you to be like someone that your siblings can look up to, but at the same time, I never asked to be the perfect role model. And for me, I never really realized that my younger brother was watching everything I did. Like, everything I did, to the point where, like, now his sense of humor is tied to how I was when I was younger, or who I am now. It's like we have such similar sense of humors because we spend so much time together. And just like the way he would teach me things, the way I would teach him things. And yeah, so I definitely feel like we have this sense of thing to pave a way for. We have this, like, we have to pave a way for our siblings, because it's like everything we do, they do. And it's like, if we establish I don't know, if especially if we do well in life, it seems like they would do well too. Like, especially in a lot of Nigerian families, and this is not me trying to be stereotypical, but like I've met a lot of Nigerian families where like the eldest is a doctor, and then the next is a doctor, and the next is a doctor, and the next is a doctor. So it's like, the eldest being a doctor influences the younger ones to be doctors or to be in the medical field. And I could say the same for any other African family. It's just like, you being the oldest, you have to pave this way. And this is when it becomes a problem. For me, I was never a staple African child. And when I say staple African child, I mean like I was never like, the African child that everybody looked up to. I never really dreamed. I mean, yeah, I think like I wanted to be successful and everything, but I wasn't like amazing in school. I did not have the best morals. I never was the perfect child. So it was kind of difficult for me, to see myself as a role model for my younger siblings. I feel like more than anything, I influenced my younger brother's what is it called, personality. That was the most I gave him, to be honest. And honestly, I'm very proud of it because he's turning out really well. Like, he's turning out really well. And I don't think that academically I was. And you know what's so crazy? My younger brother is, I would say, the smartest sibling. He is so smart, and he doesn't try, and he doesn't work as hard as I had to. And it's just so interesting to watch because it's like growing up and how my parents used to like have us study so much because it was like studying and academics and all those things was such a difficulty for me, because I do not want to speak for my twin brother. And seeing how my parents don't have to do that for my younger brother is so interesting, because my younger brother, this boy would be like, I'm gonna go do my homework, like 5 pages of homework, different assignments, and be done in an hour. And like at some point my parents started to question like, is this boy actually learning anything? Like, we're confused. But he's just smart, and he would learn on his own. He would read on his own, and these were things I never did. I never liked to learn on my own. Someone had to force me to learn, for me to learn. I never was that kid who was like, oh, I'm just going to like read a book. Okay, no, let me take that back. When I was younger, I did have an obsession with reading, but like I was never the kid to be like, I'm going to do math problems for fun. No, no. That was not something that I really wanted to do. I've always known that I liked creative stuff. Like, I never was into math or science. Like, I remember watching Akila and the Bee and being like, that is the closest thing I would be to academics, which was spelling. And I started enjoying spelling. Like, I remember even in middle school, I would just love doing like the spelling bees and things like that because they were just so fun. Like, and I was good at it, and for once in my life I felt like I was good at something, which is so funny to think about now, because now as a 25-year-old I find myself like good at a lot of things. And I feel like, just going back to the subject, as an only African daughter, the oldest African daughter of a family, sometimes you don't allow yourself to grow. You don't allow yourself to learn about yourself or know like, wow, I'm actually good at these things, or I'm actually good at this. Like, you don't give yourself a chance to know because you're so focused on what other people want, what everybody in your family wants, what your parents need, everybody's needs, and that you forget that, wow, I'm actually an individual. I'm a person. I have a personality, and I need to learn more about myself. And I always talk about how, like, when I first moved out of my parents' home, and the first time I went to the grocery store on my own, and I had to buy things for my own self, I literally had a panic attack and went to sit in the car because I was like, I don't know what I like. Like, I know what everybody in my family likes, but I genuinely didn't. Or like, I would go be like, I know I like this drink, or I like this food, but do I need it? Type of thing. I didn't allow myself to enjoy things because I was so tied to what everybody enjoyed. And it's like, because it's kind of like you had to like conform to what they liked so that you can be comfortable, so that you could live comfortably. And it was just such an interesting thing. And honestly, it was very sad because people don't realize that as an African daughter, as the oldest African daughter, sometimes you go through a lonely patch like in life where you're just like, yo, nobody understands me, nobody listens to me. And I feel like I'm living my life on my own. Like it literally feels like you are on a journey or a path on your own. And like you have to figure things on for yourself, because like you're seen as like you're supposed to be the smartest, you're supposed to be the most skillful, you're supposed to know how to cook, you're supposed to know how to do all of these things. But majority of that comes from our own self, where it's like where we feel the need to do these things because it's like and most times our parents are not going to be like, oh, do this, do that, do that. No, it's like they expect you to do it because it's like that's the norm. That's what you see your cousins doing, that's what you see other African families doing, or that's that same family dynamic. And you're like, yeah, that's what I gotta do. And it's like, can we just end that? Like, and just the same way we in the African family. And I'm not saying that the younger siblings don't go through their own ordeals and stuff, but it's just like, can we just take a moment and say like, African daughters also deserve attention. They deserve to be paid attention to. They deserve to, and it's just like they deserve time for themselves, because people don't realize, or parents don't realize, that when your child is developing this codependency on their family, they it affects their relationships. Like it affects their relationship, it affects the way they communicate with other people, and it affects the way that they live life. And that's why a lot of African daughters grow up having such difficulty finding the right people for them, because it's like you do not know how to have a relationship, or you don't know how to have a friendship without it being like, oh, I'm helping them, or they're helping me. It's never a natural flow of things. It's always something has to be transactional. And it's just so sad. It really is so sad, because it's like, wow. It's kind of like you've always been 30, like ever since you were a kid. Like, can we just talk about how, like, when we were young, we were dressing like we're 30? Like, can we talk about that? Because why was we wearing, and like, it's so funny because when I was younger, I was like, what, 18, 19? I only had church clothes. I only had church clothes and maybe like one or two jeans. Like I did not have casual clothes, because my life, and this is me being a pastor's kid, and I feel like this is not even just for pastor's kid. If you come from a religious African family, 90% of the time your clothes are church clothes. Like I did not have casual clothes, so I was dressing like an auntie since I was a kid. And that was the norm. And if you dress anything different, people would be like, why are you dressed like that? Why? And it's like you have to be this like respectable person, and it's like you have to be this voice of reason, and you have to be this perfect person. It's like, no, can I just be a kid? Can I just be a kid that makes mistakes and lives life and learns from those mistakes? And I'm not saying that we needed to like go through danger or be so rebellious so that we can do crazy things and say, oh wow, I've lived my life. No, because I've never been for that. I've never been the type of person that's like, oh, I need to do a crazy things. I feel like I need to go do something crazy so that my life can be nice. No, I've never been that type of person. But I just feel like we just needed to experience our childhood, because why was we 30, why was we 16, 17, 18 years old dressed like 30-year-olds? Excuse me? Like I was wearing duku on my head. And shout out to the aunties though. Shout out to the aunties, because I feel like the aunties been dressing like aunties from day one. And that's the craziest things. Like oldest African daughters, oldest African daughters are literally we are literally in like aunties in practice, like aunties in training. And we need to actually bind and cast that spirit of that, because honestly, no, no, I rebuke and I'm against it, and I don't think we should be doing that anymore. I definitely feel like we deserve it. We deserve a space and a place where we can just be ourselves. Like, no more of that. No more of that. No more African auntie in training. Okay, I'm gonna read some other things that you guys sent. Says, how do you handle the expectations and pressure of a firstborn daughter in an African home? Um, Honestly, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that the more I've learned how to deal with the expectations. I had to come to a place where I had to start sacrificing for myself, and not feeling bad for it, because the thing is that I feel like even when I moved out of my parents' home and stuff, I started feeling bad for things like me and my brother lived together, and so the days that I wouldn't cook, I would apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't cook today. Oh, and he's like, yo, I'm an individual. I can get food for myself. I don't need you to be upset or anything. And so I never, it's like, you have to realize that, one, we're all born with the same two eyes, two hands. Okay, that one is definitely, some people are not born with two hands, so forgive me for that. But we're all born with the same 24 hours, and you're an adult now, and your parents are also adults, okay? Yes, be respect your parents, obey your parents, but you do not live with them, or if you do live with them, you have to realize that you have to do this for yourself and for your future. I started to realize that I want a good future. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to have a good mental health. I want to have a good relationship with my parents. And somebody was saying, I saw a TikTok where somebody was like, sometimes you have to cross the boundaries for your parents to actually realize that you have your own life, and sometimes you really do. You have to do that one thing that they will question, and actually allow them to see things from a different point of view. Because I think that I don't blame African parents for being the way they are. Sometimes I feel like it's just a generational thing. It's like a tradition where, like, you have to raise your child in this like stern way so that they come out well, and which we all know is not always the best, because you know what they say, the strictest parents creates the most rebellious kids. um so definitely break those boundaries, and in a healthy way. Don't try to do things that will destroy your family or anything, but like the things that you enjoy, do whatever. Listen, especially when you do not live with your parents and they're still telling you what to do and stuff. Get that. Listen, go and dye your hair. Go get that nose piercing. Go get that belly button piercing. Do it. Just listen, because at the end of the day, right, it is your happiness that comes first, right? We were born alone and we will die alone, whether you like it or not, but make sure that you're not doing this out of spite, because sometimes we haven't healed from all the trauma we've experienced as oldest daughters of the African family, and then we feel like we have to prove ourselves. So definitely pray more about that and get therapy, because it's so important for you to be healthy for yourself. You cannot live your life and say, oh, I must prove myself. I'm so bad and bougie or whatever. I'm so crazy. Like, I'm so crazy. So I have to do something that's crazy. No, do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. Make sure that it's healthy. Make sure that you are doing it for yourself and not for anybody else. Because at the end of the day, that is how you build a healthy relationship with your family, when you're your own individual person. And also, I feel like one thing I've learned growing up as the only African daughter, oldest African daughter, is that it was so difficult for me to be genuine, because I when I was young, I had a lying problem, because I was so used to lying my way out of things, coming from a semi-strict family where it's like you must do things a certain way, you must be a certain way. I legit had a lying problem because I had to lie my way out of the simplest things, to the point where I will even lie where I didn't need to lie, you know? And I feel like that affects you being genuine, because you go through life having terrible relationships and friendships with people, because you always feel like it's like you cannot really fully be yourself, like you're even lying to yourself about yourself. And I feel like that is a problem for a lot of us African girls, where it's like you're not yourself, you know. And it's so crazy because like when I see young girls that kind of see myself in, like how I used to be, I always allow them, I always feel like I need to be like those of them that are in my life, everything, like be a positive role model for them, because it's just like I've been there and I always wanted somebody that I could look up to. That's one thing I wanted so much. And I'm not saying that my mother was not such a good role model, because she was an excellent role model, but I never really had other people in my life, other women in my life that I could look up to. Because, and this is one thing we don't talk about, as the oldest African daughters, other women become your enemy. Like it's so crazy, because it's like, why are aunties beefing with us? Why are aunties the one, you're supposed to be the one to encourage me. You're supposed to be the one to tell me it's gonna be okay. Like you're supposed to be the one, I had a few times where like there would be aunties that would be like, "Mommy, let's go shopping, or let me do this for you. Let me do your hair for you." Like that would reach out to me and want to hang out with me. But majority of them, they were looking at me like I was their koiko, and that's a mentality, and a lot of them never healed from the trauma they had as African daughters, and so they feel like they need to go through the cycle bullying other girls, and a lot of the reasons they do that is because they're jealous. They envy the life that you're living, or like because like your life is a little easier or more easier than how theirs was, or like you can do whatever you want, and even that you're not even still free, but like to their mind it's like, wow, you're living life, and it's like that is toxic. That is a very toxic mindset to have. That is a very sick mindset to have. And yeah, and I definitely recommend therapy. I definitely feel like therapy is so important for us African daughters, and praying, having that healthy relationship with God is so important as well, because and I feel like, okay, so for the next episode we're definitely going to be going in more. I think I definitely want to make this a series, and I definitely will be asking for more questions and topics within that, because I definitely want to get into religion as well, in being an African daughter, and experiencing religion and Christianity, everything. Um, so definitely we'll do that. The last question I have before I end this episode is, how do you strive to protect your mental as a result of such? How do I strive to protect my mental as a result of such? Is to really avoid the things that cause PTSD or remind me of the trauma, because, and it's just like in a healthy way though, because sometimes you meet people, or you meet older people, especially in the African community, who want to daughter you, or make you remind you so much of the trauma that you experienced. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm an adult. Like I want to have you have to have that healthy relationship with other like older Africans, because sometimes they try to come in your life, and honestly it's bullying. Like they bully you back into like that state of where you felt like you weren't loved, and where you weren't respected. And so definitely have healthy boundaries with older African adults, and also your parents. Um, and definitely boundaries is such a big thing, because when you set those healthy boundaries, you're doing it more for yourself than them. You're doing it more for yourself. So definitely set those healthy boundaries, and also take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Um, and yeah, definitely take time for yourself, and stop putting yourself in those places that remind you. And and I know we will talk more about religion, but like in the African church and different things. Like, stop putting yourself in spaces where you're re-traumatized. You keep being re-traumatized every time, and you're complaining like, "Oh, these aunties did this to me." Like, no, go find a different organization to join. Find a different place to join. You don't need to be in these places. You don't need to be in the spaces. So definitely do that. Get therapy, seek God. And I know it's so simple and cliche to say, but honestly, yeah, those are the things that we need to do. Um, yeah, and we will definitely get more in depth in the next episodes of Joda Please. And it's gonna be more fun and lively. This is the first episode, so my butt is still clenched because I'm trying this thing where like I don't feel, what is it called, forced to be so diplomatic, and I'm trying to be more free the way I'm free on TikTok. But when I'm talking about serious matters like these, it is so difficult for me to be freed. That don't worry guys, you'll see more of the goofy side of me. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Joda Please podcast. I do not have a set day for when I'll be posting, so just expect just expect the random posts. And also, I would definitely have guests on my podcast. This is the first episode, and I definitely hope you guys enjoyed this listen. And yeah, have a wonderful evening. Whether you are driving to work or you are at work or you are in your bed or whatever, I hope you definitely enjoyed this. And yes, thanks for watching. Bye.